back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys, so I am here today to do a book review, and the book that I am going to be reviewing is Firefight, which is the second one in the Reckoners series by Brandon Sanderson. This is not one of his Cosmere novels, this is part of his YA series. So I rated Steelheart 4 out of 5 stars, and I did really enjoy it. I thought it was a very, very cool world. It's a world where basically everything has gone a bit wrong. One day this massive kind of red bubble type thing, or planet or moon, no one really knows what it is, appears in the sky, and it's called Calamity, and everyone has no idea what it means. But as soon as it appears, all of these terrible things start happening. People start to gain these really exotic, crazy, out-of-this-world powers, and you'd think that would be a really good thing, that people have a load of powers, but instead it's quite the opposite, and it seems that whoever has a power is actually really, really bad, and they can't control themselves, they're crazy, they do terrible things, and everyone else in the population who hasn't got these magical powers basically has to suffer under the rule of one of these people. They are known as epics, and everyone is thrown into chaos. The whole world is thrown into uproar when this massive thing happens, and as the years go by, groups start to form, and the major group that forms as a rebellion is called the Reckoners. So in the first book we follow David, who is a young man whose father is killed right at the beginning by an epic called Steelheart, and we follow his journey as he tries to join up with the Reckoners and tries to take down Steelheart and attempt to take down the epics and change the world for the better. So I really, really enjoyed the first book. I thought it was a load of fun, very exotic, very kind of sci-fi in feel, which was a little bit different to what I have usually read from Sanderson, and I really, really enjoyed that. And so I was highly anticipating Firefight coming out, and I managed to get a copy of this early, which was amazing. Most of the way through reading this, I was pretty certain that this was also going to be a 4 out of 5 star review. I thought I was going to really, really enjoy it. It was going to be really action-packed, but there would just be a little something that didn't quite capture me. However, when I got to about 3/4 of the way through this, I found that I was utterly blown away by some of the stuff that happened, and I just wasn't anticipating things to go the way they did, and everything went a bit crazy and ludicrous and insane, and not in a bad way. I enjoyed it. So this actually ended up being a 5 out of 5 star review, which I wasn't expecting, but I was very, very excited to give. Highly, highly enjoyed this book. It was very, very cool. I definitely felt like this was better written than Steelheart. Steelheart had a little bit of clunkiness to it because it was kind of his first foray into YA, and it wasn't a bad thing, but it definitely was noticeable, whereas in this one you can tell that he has definitely refined the world a bit more, he's thought about everything a little bit more, and his writing style is much more fluid, which I really enjoyed. One thing I really enjoyed about Firefight in particular is that in Steelheart we only get to see the town of New Cargo, but in this one we go to a different town and we get to see a lot more of how the real world is, because it's not all the same as the town from Steelheart. There are different things going on in different towns. Obviously there are different epics who rule in different towns, they have different powers, they have different motives, and it's very interesting to go to another place and see how the epics are kind of making that place their own, how they're putting their stamp on the world, how they're putting their stamp on the city and the citizens who live there, and what they are interested in. So I really, really enjoyed going to another city and seeing what was happening there. Another thing that I really enjoyed in this book, as opposed to in the first book, is that we get exposed to quite a few different epics. The first book we see a few, but in this one we see quite a lot, and we get to see more of their powers, we get to see their weaknesses, we get to see what they aim to do, we get to see a lot of really cool powers and fight scenes and exciting things happening, and I really, really enjoyed just seeing how the Reckoners dealt with that situation, because obviously epics are usually pretty bad. Within this book I really, really enjoyed the two characters of Firefight and of Regalia. Both of them were highly, highly entertaining characters. I thought that they were both really kick-ass in their own way. Firefight is a very cool, interesting epic because the relationship that Firefight has with the Reckoners is different and twisted due to things that happen in book number 1, so I won't spoil that for you guys, but you should definitely check it out and you will know what I mean. I think Firefight is a really, really interesting character who we don't know too much about at the beginning of this, but by the end we get to see a lot more about them. We get to learn a lot more about why they were made an epic, what caused that, and we get to see a little bit more of the backstory. So that was a really interesting thing. Firefight definitely helps us to learn a lot more about what it is to be an epic, what it is to constantly have this feeling that you need to do bad, you need to use your powers, and it's a really, really nice relationship that we see develop throughout the course of this. So I liked that a lot. In terms of Regalia, she is very sarcastic, very funny, she appears at terrible moments, she's got some really, really badass powers, which I won't spoil, but very, very cool. She's very aware that she's powerful, which means that she's a very kind of cocky, stuck up and cynical character. She's full of quips. She's very much a bad guy who I really liked, so I really, really enjoyed her personality, and I thought she was very, very entertaining to read about. I enjoyed when she popped up and surprised them in the story. There was a lot of times where she was just kind of there and they didn't realise, and it was really entertaining, so I liked seeing her personality and her epicness shine through. I did enjoy seeing a little bit more of David in this. We get to see a little bit more about how he thinks of things, how he comes up with the weaknesses for epics, and what he does to kind of go through that process of figuring it out. We get to see more about the things that happen that lead him to the decisions he makes, and he definitely grows as a character. There's a lot of development on his character within this. He still does some things that a typical teenage boy would do, where he's a little bit annoying and doesn't quite listen to everyone, and he doesn't follow things he knows he should, but he is a really, really great character overall, and he is working for the greater good, and that's something that I really enjoyed seeing about him as a character, as opposed to some of the other characters who perhaps don't have the same aim goal as him. One thing I would definitely say about this book and this series in general is that it's a very, very fast-paced series, so if you do want to try out some Sanderson, but you've never picked anything by him up and you're not sure where to start, this is not a Cosmere book, but it is a really great example of how interesting his writing can be, because he does some very, very cool things at the end of this book, which I just was not anticipating. Overall, I really, really enjoyed this story. It was intense, it was action-packed, there was a lot going on, there was a lot of characters who are really, really cool, the world building was really interesting, the places that they go to are really interesting, and just the structure of this whole thing really drew me in straight from the beginning. Really, really enjoyed this. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you have read this, what you thought of it, how does it compare to Steelheart and Mitosis, and will you be continuing on with the series? I know I definitely will when Calamity comes out, which I hope will be 2016. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all very soon in my next video. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little chat about books.